Hi, today we're going to talk about your 2025 digital marketing plan for electricians. And so we're going to talk about how to plan your year, how to think about how many leads you need to get, how to go about getting them, and all the things that you need to do to make sure that 2025 is your best year yet. So let's jump right in. And so the plan for the session, and first we want to talk about um, what some of the biggest trends are for 2025, kind of what's going on right now. We're going to talk about setting clear goals, realigning your marketing strategy around those goals, and then plan your focus. So, what kind of budget do you need to consider? What marketing channels do you need to consider? And again, thinking about these important trends, how you might consider those as you make your plan for your year. And all of this is to set yourself up for a very successful year. And so, to start, go to our website, electricianmarketingagency.com/2025-planner. It'll give you all the tools that we're talking about here, all the worksheets, all the things that you need to make this plan. Okay, and so you can download that and work along with me as we go. And so, who am I and why should you listen to me? And I'm going to keep moving this thing around here because it kind of gets in the way. But I've written the book Online Marketing for Electricians. We've worked with dozens, if not hundreds, of companies in the contracting space. Uh, I'm the founder of Electrician Marketers, and I've run a marketing agency since 2011. So we've been doing this a very long time. We've seen a lot. We've run campaigns in every industry imaginable across 6 continents. So, you know, we're not talking about things that we don't understand or things that we don't do. Okay, we've got lots of client testimonials. I won't go into those here, but just to showcase that we're not just making things up here. Okay, and so before we get started, or at any point, um, if you go again to our site, go to offers.electricianmarketingagency.com/get more estimates. You can get a marketing checklist. You can get a digital copy of the book. You can see a PPC dashboard. You can get enrolled in our university, which is a bunch of content to help you do a lot of these things yourself. Okay, so with that being said, let's jump right in. So we're going to talk about your digital marketing plan, how to maximize your lead flow in the new year. And first, we're going to talk a little bit about trends. Okay, and the biggest one, if you're paying any attention at all to what's going on in technology, is AI. And it's growing at a frankly shocking pace. And I think it will end up being a bigger innovation in terms of the impact that it has on the workforce than the internet was. And if you're a little bit of an old timer, like me, I was a teenager when the internet really started rolling out, young teenager. Uh, I've watched the transformation that the internet has made on everything. And so, if you're a little bit older than me, you're very aware of this. And I would say that from what I've seen so far from AI and kind of sketching forward the implications of this, it is going to have a similar, if not greater, impact on not only our daily life, but our working life and the way that we interact with technology and tools and things in order to serve our customers. And so this is something that you're going to want to be aware of and pay attention to because it's changing fast and it's already impacting things. And some of your competitors are already using it, and you should be too. There really isn't a role that isn't positively impacted by the advancements that these tools bring. Okay? So that's number one. Number two and number three, I'm going to link them together, which is online scheduling and two-way text messaging. Now, this has been around for a while, but what we're seeing is an increasing adoption of this by companies because their customers are asking for it. They don't want to have to get on the phone. They don't want to have to fill out a form, half of which are never answered in the first place. They just want to be able to get on the site, get the job done, and know what the next steps are. Or to communicate easily in the way that they like to communicate, which increasingly is text messaging or WhatsApp or all these various things. So you want to enable those technologies for your customers, make it easier for them to do business with you, or you make it more likely that they will do business with your competitors. Okay, alongside part one, you will increasingly see this year AI follow up and AI voice receptionists. This is already available, it's already happening. I've tested it myself. I built a tool that made AI outbound calls to set appointments. So this stuff is, again, it's growing like crazy, and it's going to be adopted by your competitors and likely you this year in one form or another. So I'll be talking more about this throughout the year, but really every presentation I do, I will probably include a discussion on AI and how it impacts it. So this is a big deal. Okay, and then the last thing, and this is just what I think. I haven't seen this. I haven't seen anybody else talking about this, but I think this is just kind of a logical implication of where we're going. If you see the advancements in AI video, things like deep fakes, you can basically, just in the last day or two, as I'm recording this, they've uploaded new, or I should say, released new models that are incredible at making video. And so, you know, increasingly, what's going to be a premium for customers is twofold. It's number one, it's being real people, and it's being obvious that you're real people. Because more and more you're going to see people using AI generated stuff, AI generated videos on their site, and you may not be able to tell that they're AI generated, but you can kind of always tell when it's a real person in a real situation. I am not AI generated. Uh, you're going to want to leverage video to let your customers know that you're a real customer. Now, or a real company, I should say. Now, generally, you're going to have a physical location. You're probably going to have an office, someplace where you're rolling out your trucks and vans from. So it's a little bit easier for electrician and electric and lighting companies because you already have that real presence. But you want to make that real presence obvious. You want to have videos of it. You want to have videos of you, the owner, talking, welcoming people to your site, to your company, and make that video available for people so that they can see you, get to know you a little bit, know you're a real person, know your real business. It's going to make them easier to do business with you because they know you're real, alongside your adoption of technology. Okay, so setting aside everything else I say moving forward, I just want to set the stage for what change is going to look like in 2025. And it's very much going to be AI driven, and you're going to want to be watching out for that. And you're going to want to be emphasizing realness. You're a real company, you're real people, you're doing real things in the area. Okay, so let's now proceed into talking about setting clear goals. Okay, so what are your goals for 2025? Have you even thought about this? I certainly have, and many of our customers do. This is actually probably our most well-attended presentation of the year. It's kind of a nice thing. Everybody's kind of thinking about it. It's December. It's a holiday season. What comes next? Well, it's January, a whole nother year. So it's a good time to reflect on the past year. How'd you do hitting your goals? What can you change? What are you going to focus on coming up in the next year? And it's a really important thing to do. If you don't have goals, you're kind of like the sailboat just kind of sitting in the sea. You might get somewhere, you might move around, but you may just kind of be blown around by the wind. But when you set goals, it's kind of putting the wind in your sails. It's giving you direction and speed, and it also kind of gives you benchmarks. Like, am I heading in the right direction? Yes or no? You will know if you have the goals, if you're tracking to them. So again, go to our site, electricianmarketingagency.com/2025-planner. You can work along with what we talk about here and kind of work out some goals and some budgets and some things that you need to plan for as you plan out your year. Okay. And you want to start with a current snapshot. And so you want to think about, just from a very broad scale, what is your average monthly revenue? Okay. And what is the typical number of jobs run per month? Okay. And that's going to give you a couple of things. It's going to give you your average ticket number. So if you have your average monthly revenue, that's mostly driven by jobs that you do in a month. What's the average? That gives you your average ticket, which allows you to understand, how many leads you need to generate in order to, at minimum, sustain the revenue that you have, or better yet, grow it. Okay. You also want to think about your average conversion in the field. Either upsells. Do you go in and fix some blown outlets, and your staff takes a look and recommends, hey, you probably need a whole house surge protector, or your circuit breaker, your circuit box is old, you probably need to upgrade that, or have you thought about a whole home generator, things like that. So that is something to consider in your modeling also, and also the number of trucks that you're running. So if you know the number of jobs you're running, the number of trucks, and your average ticket, and your crews, and kind of how much revenue per crew, however you think about this, then alongside planning for revenue growth, you also have to plan for employee growth. And this. There's nothing, particularly groundbreaking here. But the better that you know these numbers, the better you're going to be able to make plans and make things happen in a predictable way that you've kind of, planned for. So put these numbers in your current snapshot, and then think about, what is your goal? How much do you want to increase your revenue? Do you want to increase your number of trucks? Why might you want to do that? Do you want to grow the company? Are you happy where you are? Are you thinking about selling in a couple of years? Why are you doing what you do? And you want to be reasonable here. So if you did $1 million in 2024, unless you went from, say, unless you grew fivefold to get there, you probably don't want to say, well, I'm going to go to 5 million in 2025. Okay, that would be great, but that may not be a realistic goal. Maybe more realistic to say, hey, let's go to 1.5, let's go to 2 million. I mean, 2 million is probably an aggressive goal. You're doubling your business in a year. That's, it's doable, but you got to have a good plan to get there. Okay. And so you can get this worksheet from our site to play around with these numbers. I like to do this when I know what my numbers are. And so you can go to electricianmarketingagency.com/2025-worksheet. You can play around with the spreadsheet and put in what's your revenue goal for the year. That's going to break down to what your monthly revenue target is. And then again, enter your average ticket value. That's going to tell you how many calls. And again, if you know what your conversion percentages are, you can increase your average ticket, or, however you track these KPIs so that you know how many leads actually convert, right? So if you get, you need 83 calls to hit your revenue target. Let's just say your average ticket is 1,000, right? So you need 83 service calls a month. And let's say you convert 45% of phone calls, leads, right? So then you got to get 185 leads if you're going to convert 45% of them to get your 83 to get your revenue target, okay? And then when you know your average cost per lead, and we like to calculate this from a blended perspective, so how many leads are coming in from, organic SEO? How many leads are coming in from Google Ads or Nextdoor or whatever sources that you're using, Facebook ads? So you want to blend it all together to know what your average cost per lead is, just for comparison purposes. And then that's going to give you a rough budget required to hit your target. Now, to be fair, there's different costs involved here. This is a very simplified model, but at least gets you thinking, okay, if I'm going to generate this much, or if you just want to restrict it to paid, right? If you just want to talk about, okay, I just want to focus on my paid search, then put your paid, say your average cost per lead on Google Ads, or blended cost per lead on paid, Google plus Facebook, say plus Nextdoor, say it's $50, right? You know what your cost per lead is blended on paid platforms, put $50 in there. Okay, then you know how much ad spend you need to dedicate to generating enough leads with your known conversion rate to hit your numbers. Okay, so that's the point of this worksheet. There's nothing, there's no hard and fast rules here. It's a tool for you to think about what your targets are, what are your numbers, what do you realistically need to budget to get there. And you can always work to improve these things. You can work to improve your ticket value. You can work to improve your conversion value. You can work to lower your cost per lead. That's all great. But you got to start from somewhere, and you should start from your known KPIs and work from there. Okay, and that's what we do. So think about what's your goal for 2025, how many leads will you need monthly to get there, and then the next step is to go to this next part of the worksheet and start breaking that into budgets. Okay, and again, it's the same worksheet, but now you have your revenue target, you have your marketing budget, and we give you kind of a recommended, If you want to aggressively grow, you want to think about 10 to 20% of your gross revenue in a marketing budget. If you want to maintain or grow slightly, 5 to 10%. You don't really want to go below 5%. It's generally not recommended. So, but that will give you a recommended marketing budget. Okay. And then you want to break that out into different categories. So, how much am I going to spend on online marketing, Google Ads, SEO, any agency partner fees? You want to include those in there. How much do you want to spend on offline marketing? Are you doing postcards? Are you doing radio, TV, things like that? Is that something you've done, haven't done? So you want to budget for all these things. You want to break it down to a monthly budget just to kind of lay it out for your year. And, again, you're planning for your future results based on your knowledge of your past results. If you know what these costs are, if you've never done this before, then best time to start is now. Set a budget of 10% of your annual revenue, figure out how to spend it, and then spend it and start tracking. Get those KPIs, get your cost per lead, get your average ticket value, and understand your numbers so you can work to improve them. Okay, but you got to start somewhere. If you have those numbers, great. Then you have the perfect starting point to actually do this, set your budgets, get your plan in place, and go into 2025 ready to hit your goals. Okay, that's the whole point of this entire exercise. And then you want to think about what is your strategy. Okay, and so what we teach here is what we like to call our accelerated growth model. Okay, and the first thing you want to do is drive leads. And so that's what we've talked about with our budgeting here is how are you going to drive leads? These are the lifeblood of your business. Without leads, every business dies, right? You got to drive them. That's step one. Okay, step two is you got to maximize your conversions. So if you have an ancient website that was built in 2015, still says 2015 in the footer, your phone number's hard to read, there's no chat, there's no text, they got to call you, you're not doing yourself any favors in maximizing your conversion of that traffic. Okay, so you want to focus on things that you can do to maximize your conversions. Then you're going to have the data you need. You're going to have what it cost to drive leads, what was your cost per lead, how effective was your website or your landing pages at converting those leads. Now let's optimize results. What can we try to make that better? Maybe try a different campaign type. Maybe try video ads. Maybe try Facebook ads if you haven't. You want to test things. See if there's better cost per leads. Are they cheaper leads, but they're bad leads? Are they more expensive leads, but they're better? That's good. It's not just cost per lead. You would then start looking at what's your cost per acquired customer in these various marketing channels. And there may be a channel that has a much higher cost per lead, but a lower cost per acquired customer because they're better leads, right? So the more data you have, the better here. And that will allow you to optimize results. So you're going to want to invest more in the channel that has the lowest cost per acquired customer. Even if it has the highest cost per lead, it's your lowest cost per customer. And that's the metric that really matters when you compare it against your lifetime customer value. If your cost per acquired customer is significantly lower than your lifetime customer value, that's a profitable customer, right? That's the name of the game here in this stuff. Okay, and so honing in a little bit on how do you drive leads, we'll start talking about some of the things that do that. And the first one is organic SEO, and this is the granddaddy of digital marketing. This has been around since the internet was created, and it's really just optimizing your website so that you show up better as best as you possibly can in Google. Now, that's changing because Google has not been as effective in adopting AI. And so they're losing search market share, which is a wonderful thing. If you've ever had to deal with Google, they are a horrible company, awful to deal with, terrible service. They've abused their monopoly. They're terrible. And so there's nothing better than seeing them start to lose to Bing, to ChatGPT search, to Perplexity, which is another, there's new AI driven things coming out. And so, organic SEO has been on the downswing a little bit because of Google's dominance and the way that they've played with the algorithms and things. It's been a little bit more difficult and less effective to do organic SEO. But now that the AIs are coming in and they are basically drawing their entire data source from your website, organic SEO is back because you've got to be well optimized for the queries that people are searching, because now you have a chance to show up in Bing, which is gaining market share. And now you have a chance to show up in ChatGPT search or Perplexity based on the content of your site. And so you want to basically, the old practices of organic SEO still apply. Make a page, make it relevant to the query that people are searching for, make it, have it show authority, make it a trustworthy page, make it a useful page to the searchers, give them their answers. There's all kinds of things to it. And you can search Google and you can find 8 million different websites talking about how to do this. Okay. But do this well, and it will over time become a very, very strong source of leads for you. Okay. Now, it's not the only source of leads, and over time, across our portfolio of businesses that we deal with, we've seen as low as 8% of leads come from organic SEO to up to 20. I think this is going to go up. I think the mix is going to change a little bit as people start using these AI things more. So it's going to be increasingly important. It's kind of fallen off a little bit, but I think it's coming back, and we're going to see it over the next 2 to 3 years for sure. Okay, so good old fashioned organic SEO, got to do it. The next thing, which is still important and won't change, is paid search. Okay, and that's Google ads, that's local service ads, which is like the pay per lead, that's like the Google guarantee, things like that. Things like Facebook ads, things like advertising on Nextdoor. Okay, these things are not going to go away, and there's going to be more channels, because what's going to happen most likely, in my view, is things like ChatGPT search or Perplexity, which are some of these newer entrants into the market, will start charging for ad placements. It's inevitable. They're going to, if they start getting appreciable traffic, it just makes sense from a business perspective when they have users like that to allow for businesses to advertise. And so they might not, but chances are they will ultimately adopt some kind of ad model. Excuse me. And so you'll have additional places to place your ads. And you're going to want to do that because, generally speaking, as I showed in that slide before and another slide coming up, an appreciable percentage of leads across our base come from paid ads. And that's because they work. Otherwise, Google wouldn't be a massive, however many billion-dollar company it is. That's on the strength of their advertising platform. And they're that strong because it works. Okay. A couple things, about why most of these campaigns fail. They're just built wrong. And this is a little bit of a challenging discipline because it changes a lot. They're tinkering with their models. They'll roll out a new model, and PMAX is one that originally didn't work very well at all. And so you had to stay away from it. You get terrible results. Excuse me. But now over time, it's improved to where now if you can spend enough where PMAX is going to work, it's the best model that you have. So this is one of those things, and one of the reasons that you generally are going to want to hire agency partners to help you is because unless you have a dedicated internal resource, there's really just no way to keep up with this and be effective at it, because the ways to fail just keep multiplying. And Google especially is horrendous at this, in having third-party companies who will say they're from Google, and they have Google emails. They are from Google, but they're contractors who will claim to be your Google rep. And they'll say, hey, we see your campaign could be doing better. Why don't you do these things? Well, it's Google. You want to listen to them, except they always give absolutely horrible advice. It's not good for you. It increases your ad spend without increasing your results. These are not skilled practitioners of paid ads. These are low-paid contractors who are following a script, and the desired outcome of that script is you spending more money with Google. So don't ever do what they say. And we tell this to our customers, and they don't listen. It's maddening. We'll say, hey, Google will call you and pretend they're your rep and give you don't ever listen to them. And then we'll be talking to our customers, and sure enough, we'll be like, yeah, I just got off the phone with Google. They had me make these changes. It's just like, please don't do it. It's horrible. It ruins your stuff. Don't ever listen to them. They're not there to help you. Okay. With paid search, you can do a nice calculation. It's one of the easier things to measure cost per lead, because the dashboards tend to give you campaign and even keyword level detail on how much you're paying for leads. And so it's easy to back that up and say, okay, here's my cost per lead on this platform. If you're doing a reasonable job of tracking leads to sales, then you can figure out your return on ad spend or your return on investment for this platform by connecting the sold jobs to the leads that came in. And paid search does tend to be a very high ROI um, investment at scale. You only get a couple leads a month, and maybe it doesn't work so well, but if you're spending enough to really generate enough business, it's generally good high ROI activity. And again, across our portfolio here, what we've seen recently is about a third of the ads, I'm sorry, about a third of the leads are coming from Google Ads at this point. So it's something you can't overlook in your lead generation practice because you're just leaving a lot of leads on the table. Some people are Google Ads clickers. They're not going to go to the organic result. They're not going to go to the maps results. They're just going to search. They're going to see the ad. They're going to click it, and they're going to call you. If you don't run the ads, you miss those customers. It's really as simple as that. All right. So let's talk about database. And this is an interesting one, but something that is often overlooked, and it's your existing customers. And so if you've been in practice for a while, if you've been in business for a couple of years, you have a big, list of existing customers. And one of the best groups of people to market to is people that you've already worked with. They've already trusted you. Excuse me. They've worked with you before. And so you can run something which is called a database reactivation campaign, which is, hey, here's an offer, basically. And you email it out to your previous customers that hopefully, if you've been following some good marketing practices, you stayed in touch with. Send them a monthly newsletter so they remember you when their next electrical problem happens. They just search through and be like, oh, yeah, I work with Bob's. Great. I'm going to call Bob's. If they don't find you in their email, they probably won't call you. They'll call whoever shows up in the Google ad or whichever type of result they click on. So you want to be marketing monthly to people just to kind of stay top of mind. Okay. But run an offer occasionally every quarter or something to your existing past customer list, generates leads. It works amazingly well, right? So as an example, had someone listed 5,000 plus, they ran an offer, got 300 replies, 119 booked jobs, having completed 24 of them so far, 84,000 revenue just from emailing a list of 5,000 previous customers. Not bad at all. All right. So, and there's many other things we can do to talk about driving leads. We didn't talk about Google Maps, which is the biggest source of leads, over half. Um, email campaigns, not even just database reactivation, but cold email. There's all kinds of things you can do. Okay. But the bottom line is think about how to drive leads. What of these potential things can you do? And start doing those things. Whatever's working well, do more of. Whatever's working not as well, maybe try something else. But you should always, as the business owner or the marketing director, your number one focus is driving these leads. If you can't drive these leads, then you can't do anything else. Okay? And so think about how to rate yourself. Green, yellow, or red. How are you doing on organic? How are you doing on paid? How are you doing on marketing to your existing customers? If you're doing green, great. Maybe invest more. If you're doing yellow, why? Is it a bad cost per lead? Are you just not spending much? Or if it's red, you're not doing it at all, you found something to focus on, right? Try adding that to the mix and see how it does for you. So when you get to this time next year, you have some data to look at and say, you know what, that worked pretty well for us. I'm going to double down on that going into 2026. Okay. Now, excuse me, let's talk about maximizing your conversions. So with maximizing conversions, what you're really talking about here, by and large, for the most part, is your website. Now, if you're running paid ads, you may be talking about landing pages. You may be talking about your ad copy or how you set up your Facebook funnel. So it's not just as simple as your website. But even people who find you in these other places will often go back and check out your website to see how you look there. Okay. So conversion starts and often ends with how well your website is put together. And so just very basically, things to highlight here that you may not have thought of, but you want to be speaking to your target avatar. And what does that mean? That means who are your customers? You're going to have different sorts of customers. You're going to have the customers, just the residential customer that has an electrical repair that needs to happen. That's one kind of customer. Your service page is probably going to want to talk with that person. If you get into high-end custom lighting, that's a completely different customer, right? That's not now uh your electrician customer may become that customer, but there's not always 100% overlap there. You may get someone who's calling you who's just looking for high-end lighting, right? So you're going to talk to that customer a little bit differently than you would be a customer who's in need of service. Same thing with whole home generator, right? Now there may be some overlap with high-end lighting and whole home generator, but you have to understand who your customers are, why they buy what they buy from you, and you want to speak to them throughout your website. In our case, we're talking to electricians. So our website talks about electricians. It talks about the services that you offer, the services that we offer to help you sell your services, and what we know about your business that's relevant to you. Okay. So you want to do the same thing for your customers. You want to be real. Put images of your team. This video I'm recording right now is going to go on our website. It's going to go on our YouTube channel. Bits of it will go out on social media because this is me. I own the company and I want my current and future customers to hear from me. Okay. And the same holds true of your customers. The more that you are a real person on your site, the better of an advantage you have in a very competitive marketplace. If you look at the average home services business, the average electrical company, you're not often going to see the owner being showcased on the site. Sometimes you will, and I think if you look at the biggest companies in your area, go check out their sites. How much do you see of the owner? I bet you see him. That's not a coincidence in a lot of cases. So you want to personalize your business and be real to your customers. Use video. You can get drones everywhere and not the crazy ones flying all over New Jersey. If I'm timing when I'm recording this, but drones are all over the news. We don't know what these mystery drones are, but drones. You may or may not have been using them, but get some drone footage of your shop. Show that you're a real company. Show there's real people there. That stuff matters to customers. Leverage social proof. Get your online reviews. Show them. Get your basics. It may be boring, but websites are all basically laid out the same way now. Logo in the upper left, phone number, contact us in the upper right, contact us form, excuse me, chat in the lower right. Don't break convention. People are kind of trained to look in those places for the ways that they want to interact. So give them what they expect where they expect it. Sometimes having a higher conversion rate is just doing what people expect and not making it difficult for them. So do those things. Make sure your site is fast. Leverage live chat. Give them the option to book online, like we talked about earlier. In any way that you can make yourself more real to your customers and make things easier for them to do what you want them to do and what they want to do, that will improve your conversion. It really ultimately is as simple as that. Okay, so this is an example, just from various websites of a form. Here's a landing page. It shows a team, right? There's the crew. There's your number. Click to call. Very simple. Have a video playing in the background for higher end things. Put the social media, or rather, put the reviews on there. Have a forum. Make it easy for them. There's the phone number right at the top. Click free quote. I mean, like I said, make it easy for people. Make it stand out. Give them chat. Give them even the ability to search. There's a lot of things you can do that just are not that hard to do, but will make a world of difference to your customers and how they interact with your site. Okay. Talk a little bit about reputation. These are things like get more reviews, and there's some value in these services. Things like Nearby Now, for example, where it will generate reviews that are kind of stamped on a map. There's some value in that. But for most people, it's really just a matter of sending out Google review links when you send out invoices. That's what we recommend. That's what we try to help our customers do. There's a million different ways to do this, and they can make it all very complicated. But the main thing you can do is just ask. And really, the best thing you can do, and almost no one does this, very few do. Doctors' offices sometimes do it. But the best thing you can do is have your receptionist, have someone on your staff who simply makes a phone call to your customer after the project, said, "Hey, we just want to check in. How'd that go for you? Was everything done the way expected? Did our guys do a good job? How was the service? Blah blah blah." Just ask them how'd it go, and then when you make that call, say, "Hey, it'd be great. If it's okay, I'll send you a link. If you could leave us a review telling others about your experience, it really helps us out." Make that phone call. Nobody does it, but making that phone call is the number one way to actually drive reviews. So all the software is great, but I guarantee if you have someone picking up the phone and calling, you're going to get more reviews, and the more reviews they have, it's like a snowball rolling down a mountain. Get those reviews; they will absolutely help you kill it in the maps. And you know this. I mean, when you're shopping, for example, and you're trying to pick, say you need a new HVAC guy, you're going to search and you're going to look how many reviews they got, how good are they, right? These are very simple things to do, and generally you're going to gravitate to whoever's closest to you with the most and best reviews. So that's how you get leads from maps. Really as simple as that. But you got to have a process to do it, and the best process is picking up the phone. All right. The next best thing you can do is automate things. Excuse me. And so, lead flow is not always the problem. The problem is often that people don't actually follow up. A lot of inbound traffic doesn't convert at all. Inbound leads, they just disappear. They weren't good leads in the first place. Tons of web forms fail to convert. But what I found is that more often than not, when I complete a web form, I never hear back from that company. And I'm actively trying to do business. And these are not always small ticket things. The things that I'm leaving web forms for, $4, $5, $6, $8, $9,000 projects that these are not small things. And I never ever hear back from the company. It blows my mind. And like I know how to check spam. I know what I'm doing here, and I'm telling you, if I were you, I'd verify that your forms work, because you'd be shocked if you haven't experienced this yourself. The number of web forms that are just never answered blows my mind. And even then, the ones that come in, if they're not trying to sell you like guest posts or like all the SEO form fields that get that are super annoying, there are some customers who want to hear from you that way. So how do you solve this problem? You automate it. You do marketing automation. Okay. And this is important for many reasons, not just people never answering, but people who answer fast are going to get the job. Leads are not followed up with in 15 minutes go cold. Why? Because they're calling 3 or 4 other people. And so if you don't get back to them, you're out. Simple as that. And not only that, if it's a bigger project, the average customer might have to be followed up with a couple times before booking. They might forget, they're busy, they have other quotes out there, they're still thinking about it. The more that you interact politely and you're not spamming people being annoying, but the more you follow up, the better chance for staying top of mind. And they're like, they really want my business. It just gives you better chances. So you want to do that. Okay. So in order to improve your conversion, you want to do marketing automation. What does this mean? When someone submits a web form, you have an automation that sends them an email. It'll be like, "Hey, we got your form. Here's what's going to happen next. Bob's going to call you today as soon as he can, and he's going to talk to you." Boom, that's it. Okay. And then Bob gets an email that says, "Hey, Bob, we had this form fill. We need you to call this customer as soon as you're available." Okay. And then what does the customer receive? Okay, well, Bob's going to call me. And then 5 minutes later, Bob calls him. Great. This company did what they told me right away. You've already built some trust and rapport with your customer because they filled out a form, they heard from you right away with what's going to happen, and you delivered on that. Okay. It's a very easy way to start building trust with prospects by taking the opportunity to show them that you'll do what you say. Okay. And this can all be automated. You can't really automate Bob, although you can, but we're not quite there yet. Follow up with people. It's really important. And you can get all crazy with this. I mean, these are some sequences that we've used, or kind of examples of them, of how crazy this kind of stuff can be. And we have our own. It's called Revenue Commander. That's what we use. It's our marketing automation software that we use to build solutions for ourselves and for our customers. And so if you're watching this because you received an email from me or my team, That came through Revenue Commander. And if you schedule a call with us and you get followed up with, that calendar lives in Revenue Commander, and those marketing automation follow-up sequences also live in Revenue Commander. So we practice what we preach here. It's a good thing to do. It's going to help you. So do the same scorecard. How are you doing with your conversions? Is your website have all the things in the right place? Are you doing enough to get more reviews? Are you leveraging marketing automation at all? And if you're not, you should start. It's kind of like the first step to AI, because what I'll be building this year for my customers is, you know, marketing automation type things that leverage AI, things like AI chat, things like, my camera's got crazy on me, things like AI receptionists who will take calls, transcribe them, get correct information from the customers, and then pass along messages to your team for follow up. Okay, so these are the kind of things that are coming now. And so you want to be ready. Where are you red on this? Implement some changes. Okay, let's talk about optimizing results now. So when you look at your total spend, again, when we talk about kind of marketing benchmarks, around 5%, you stay flat where you are. You want to grow, you want to be in that 6 to 15% range. If you really want to grow crazy, 15 to 20, 25%, if you really want to spend, and you have the capacity to take on that much business, it doesn't make sense to spend that much if you don't have the trucks to support it, for example. So you have to understand your business, what you can spend, and then optimize your spend accordingly. Okay. Now, how do you do that? Well, you look at your cost per lead, right? And so again, this is in the sheet, and you can look at your average cost per lead by source. PPC is generally going to be more expensive. SEO, depending on what you're spending on, could be agency fees, could be links, could be various things. Repeat referral, it could just be, averaging out the cost of your email marketing software, right? Like whatever. But as you know your numbers better, you can start, leveraging these things and start optimizing and working on, okay, well, how can I get a better cost per lead for my commercial business, right? But it gives you a target. If you don't know what any of these numbers are, you can't work to optimize them. So if you don't have these numbers, the first thing you have to do is figure out what they are. Once you know what they are, you can get better at them. Okay? And then you start looking at your ROI, right? And this is I think a very true quote. If you don't know what's giving you results, you don't know what's burning your cash. Okay? And so you need to have the tools in place, Google Analytics, all this kind of stuff. Track your rankings for keywords. Consider call tracking. Some people are resistant to it, but no one remembers your phone number anymore. It doesn't matter if you have a different phone number on your site every day. People are going to go to your site to find it. So it makes sense to do call tracking, and you really understand where your traffic's coming from and understand where your conversions are coming from so you can improve these investments, right? And then use a CRM or some other tracking tool in place to track these lead sources and then track them to build projects, be it ServiceTitan or whatever sort of software that you use for this. Okay. So again, this is always a good time as you're planning for a year to scorecard yourself on these things. How are you doing on your driving leads? What could you do better? How are you doing on maximizing conversion, optimizing your ROI? What can you do better? You want to just take an honest look and consider where you might be able to improve things. Okay. And then go from there. So think about this. Take some time. Again, get the planner, get the worksheet, work through these things, get a plan in place, and make it reasonable. If you're not doing half this stuff, you're not going to get it all done in January. It's just not going to happen. So think about what could be the most high impact thing you could do and put that thing in place. Okay. And that's really called planning your focus, right? So again, make your budget planner. If you're not doing a lot of paid spend yet, then don't allocate a lot of money to online marketing quite yet. If you're not doing anything like postcards that that don't make sense, don't allocate money to it yet. Maybe allocate money to it starting in May. And that gives you some time to find a partner, get the plans in place, get the creatives in place, and then launch it when you're ready. So again, use this as a tool for planning. What are you going to focus on? What are you going to improve? Where are you going to spend? But plan to spend. plan to invest. It's only an expense if it doesn't grow your business, right? Marketing spend is for the purpose of growing your top line, growing your profitability. It's not like you're just burning money, but you are burning money if you're not tracking how you're spending it and figuring out how to get better. Okay, and that's what we try to teach. So you can even make a marketing calendar. And so just here's an example of how you might approach different campaigns. Your PPC campaign, you could maybe target, highlight different keywords depending on the time of year. Maybe people tend to buy generators in October, right? Because they're like, well, we lose power last winter. We don't want that to happen again, right? Maybe in spring, people are thinking about putting in better, hey, it's going to be spring and summer. Let's improve our lighting, right? So think about when your customers buy things and shift your spend patterns to cover that. And this goes across all your channels. So in email, in social, you talk about things when it resonates with your market. Okay, that's the point of this here. Okay, so what have we covered? Well, we've covered the marketing trends. We've covered, knowing your numbers and setting clear goals, realigning your marketing strategy by understanding what you do well and what you could improve, and then planning your focus for hitting those goals. Where are you going to budget? What channels are you going to spend? And what key trends do you need to pay attention to make sure that you do these things effectively and set yourself up for massive success in this upcoming year? Okay, so action items. You've watched this now, we're 46 minutes in. What are your key takeaways here? What are you not doing now? Maybe your website needs a refresh. Maybe you're not doing any paid search. I'd start with those two. If you already got that stuff going on, your website's pretty current, you're already spending, you already know your basic stuff, then think about AI, because that's the hot new thing. And normally I ignore that stuff, except AI it's a game changer. And I don't say that lightly. So if you've got your bases covered, you want to start thinking about how you're going to tackle AI. Certainly this is top of my mind, how I'm approaching it in my business and for my customers. But that you can't go there if you're not doing the basics. So if you're not doing all the basics, your top 3 action items should be covering these basics. Paid spend, better website conversion, marketing automation. Get those bad boys in place, because that's the basic blocking and tackling. Now we can optimize. Now we can add in the AI. Okay. And if you want some help, that's what we're here for. So we will help you talk about these things. We'll look at how you're doing. We'll put together a custom report for your market that looks at, how are you doing relative to your competitors? What are they up to? How are you doing on the critical keywords? What do the ads look like in your area around those keywords? How do what are the reviews? What do the maps look like in your area? How are your maps looking in the area that most of your customers are coming from? How do your competitors' maps look? What are the opportunities there? What does your social presence look like? We'll look at all of it. Okay, and we'll put together a free report for you, and we'll look at it with you with respect to your competitors, and we'll help you identify where the opportunities are. Okay, if you're really strong in maps, that's great. We can help you get even stronger. But if you're not doing anything unpaid, that's where your opportunity is. Okay, so we'll help you identify where you're weak if you don't know. And if you're already working with somebody, great. It's free. We'll try to offer our services to you, but we're not going to push you. But that's not how we do this. We don't want to make you be our customer. But if you have a company that you're working with and you're not sure how well it's going, we'll get the free report, because it'll tell you, and go from there. So call that number, or you can go to our website, electricianmarketingagency.com/apply-now. Fill a little brief survey, which is basically just telling us a little bit about your business. It's very short. And it gives us some of the information that we need to make this report for you. And then you'll experience some marketing automation, right? So if you want to get a sense of how that works, just do a call with us and you'll see how we do marketing automation. Okay? Just give us a call, go to Apply Now. And again, go to the website, get that planner, electricianmarketingagency.com/2025-planner. Hope you download it. It's a free resource. It's not gated or anything. Just go to it and download it. Make use of it. Plan your year. And I hope that your 2025 is your best year yet. So happy holidays to you if you're seeing this in December. Merry Christmas. And I hope you have a happy and very, very strong 2025. Thanks for watching.